Hello, Chocky Chat. It is episode 126. It is the date today. It's the 9th of February. 9th of February already. It's nearly Valentine's. Hope everybody's ready. How is everybody doing anyway, Chocky Chat? God, and do you know what? It seems like a minute since I was last sat here. Just this year's flying by already, isn't it? It's scary. Tavir, hello. Billy's got his chocolates. May chocolates. How are you, Joe? Some amazing stuff being posted this week. Pretty fancy there down in New Zealand. Mo's there. Ron's Bonbons. How you doing, Mo? Nadia. Paula. How's everybody doing? So, busy week. I haven't stopped. Do you know what? Twice this week I've turned the melter on. Twice this week I've turned the melter on. It's like, right, I've got to do some decorating. I've got to do some bits and pieces. Never got around to it. Just never got around to it. Just too busy with other stuff. So, we're going to have a crack at making chocolates tomorrow. Last ditch attempt for the week to try and make some chocolate. It's not for Valentine's, but I do need to do a collection. So, and then Sophia's got bars to finish. So, Sarah's been painting as well, I see. There's a couple of moulds up there that have been painted that I... Looks like I'm polishing moulds as well tomorrow. But how is everybody doing? People dotted all over the world again. I'm going to say some hellos out. So Bitology, Zoa, how are you? Ryan there at the coffee station. Who else? I saw Paula there. Ron's Bonds. How's everybody doing? Busy? Everybody busy? Everybody's posting some amazing stuff, got to say. It's all pinks and reds, isn't it? It's Valentine's, right? Lonely there. What else have we got? Stephanie, Temper, Stephanie at Forester Chocolates, Erin there. There's some new. How am I? I'm tired. How am I? I'm tired. I'm really tired. You know, I said I was going to take last Saturday as a day off. I didn't. I carried on working. I am so tired at the minute, but not complaining. If it was quiet and didn't have much to do, it'd be a different story, right? So, what's the word? The more you do, the more you get given to do. I think that's a phrase, isn't it? A couple of things have come up this week. So I've been sent about a dozen pictures of chocolates that have turned out and it's like normally 3 moulds or 4 moulds, okay, and all were very similar. And what's happened was, like, moulds 1 and 2 absolutely fine, no problems at all, but when they got to mould 3, when they turned it out, big chunks of chocolate were stuck in the mould. And I got sent these. It's about 10 or 12, I don't remember now. I'm not going to name drop on here, but if you're one of them, you'll know, because I kind of answered it almost immediately. And it was to do with, and I know how they work, so it's a little bit easier for me to, or I know who they are and I know how they work and I know what equipment they use, so it's a little bit easier for me to nail what the problem was. And this is the thing, is when people try and scale up a bit, where they're just doing 1 or 2 moulds and it's a flavour, so they'll do enough chocolate to do 2.5, 3 moulds, and they'll do 2 moulds, everything's good. As soon as you start doing 3 moulds, when you get to the 3rd mould, you start having a problem with chocolate temperature. When I see, and this will come up, we've got a cocoa butter class which is on the 18th, and this goes into that in some depth, right? When you spray the cocoa butter and you've got that layer and that's dried, that's crystallised, normally leave that about 3 hours, right, or longer. And then you shell, but what happens is, like Halloween's another example of this, is where they just need to scale up for one single event. They'll do 3 or 4 moulds, but they'll use the same bowl, right? So they'll temper that bowl of chocolate. They pour the first one, they pour the second one, they pour the first one, tap everything out, pour the next one, tap everything out, it's all good. By the time you get to the 3rd one, the chocolate temperature's too cool. So that 3rd and 4th mould, you end up with slightly thicker shells, but the temperature's gone. And what happens is, that chocolate isn't warm enough to melt that layer of cocoa butter. So, and microscopically, that chocolate will melt that layer, and you tap everything else that's sitting still. But because it doesn't fully melt that layer, when the chocolate retracts, and because it's cooler, it's going to retract quicker, there's not enough heat left to melt that layer. So when the two crystallise and move across together, the cocoa butter stays in the mould, but it stays in big chunks. It's almost like when you tap it out, half the shell stays in the mould and the other half comes out with the chocolate. And when I see that normally, and nearly every single one of them, I said, you got to check your chocolate temperature. It's not a cocoa butter issue. It's a chocolate temperature issue, not a tempering issue. It's a chocolate temperature issue. So what I would say is to get into the habit, and this is where this comes in, right? You can pour 1 or 2 molds, but then you need to check the temperature of that to do mold 3 and 4. So 2 molds. The problem is while you're pouring that one, tipping it out, 30-40 seconds has gone by. You use the next one, and the temperature's probably okay, and you tap that. Another, now we're kind of 2 minutes in. Well, the temperature's dropped on that, and once if you're using silk and you add silk, it starts cooling very, very quickly, and it will go from 32 down to 30 very, very quickly, and cooler. And then the next issue is that you've got chocolate that's too thick, viscosity, because as it drops down from 33, it's as fluid as it will ever be. Once you start getting down to the 30s and 29s, the viscosity changes very, very, so you end up with very, very thick shells, very straight edges where you scrape, okay? But when I get sent the photos and I look at it, nearly every single one was the same thing, and the people in the southern hemisphere, because it's hot down there, they've ramped the temperature. They've ramped the AC up so that it's really cold, and they're kind of working at 16 degrees, which is too cold. The cooler your room, the warmer the chocolate and cocoa butter, okay? The cooler the cooler your room, the warmer the chocolate. The warmer your room, the cooler the chocolate. So we're trying to balance things out. Airbrushing and shelling, 20, 21 degrees, 19, 20, 21 degrees, absolutely perfect. If we want to force chocolate to retract a little bit quicker, we need slightly cooler. So 14, 15, 16, absolutely ideal. If you want to go lower than that and use a fridge, absolutely fine. You still need to have that time delay. But actually what it was, and nearly every single one said, you're right, how did you know? It's what I see on the outside of that mold. And it's when you've seen it a million times, literally, you kind of get a good idea of what's happened. When I see little flakes in there, so the shells come out and the shell is dull and it's a little bit patchy and there's little bits and pieces left in of cocoa butter, that's a cocoa butter tempering issue. And again, we're doing the class on the class is on the 18th. The cocoa butter class is on the 18th, and we dip quite heavily into what is tempering and why do you need to temper it and what happens when you heat it and how does it get damaged, and it's all those little things. But we do go into the shelling of temperatures in terms of how warm does your chocolate need to be. So what I would say is if you're kind of home producing, you're not using a machine, I know that I need 440 grams to fill this mold, okay? So let's say that I've got a kilo of chocolate is going to be enough for 2 molds. 1.5 kilos, I can probably do 3 molds if I work quick. But when I get to the second mold, I will very, very often give it a warm up, and we'll just take that temperature back up to whatever that working temperature is. Generally speaking, I won't shell. If I've got sprayed chocolate, if I've got sprayed colours, very often I won't have a working temperature below 31 degrees. Anything below 31 degrees, I know that I start having issues. And instead of getting a very lovely release, if I go much lower, either the chocolate's too thick or it's too cool and it doesn't melt that layer of cocoa butter, then when it retracts, the chocolate gets stuck in a mold with the cocoa butter and it doesn't come out, which is why you get huge pieces stuck. The other alternative is if the cocoa butter is not tempered and then you shell, the cocoa butter will stay in the mold because there's nothing in there to make it retract, if that makes sense. So that answered that one. I hope that answered that one. So let's go back. There's a couple of pictures, a couple of questions. Loads of people joined. I said hello. I just went straight into it, didn't I? Oh God. Coming to you live from an aeroplane. That's going to be an expensive chocky chat. Maggie's joined us. How are you, Maggie? I haven't spoken to you ages, Maggie. I need to catch up with you. Chocolate by Macaroon. Making thousands of truffles for our first market. Get in. My nice 2K Easter egg jumped off the bench before I could... Oh no, Stuart. That's not good, is it? Who Who else? If you're new, welcome. Ask questions if you got them. It's absolutely fine. Yeah, Stuart, that's not good. That's a lot. It's nothing worse when stuff hits the floor, I tell you. I feel your pain, mate. I do. Kelly's been having Kelly's been having a hell of a week, haven't you? I'm trying to scroll back and see if there's anything I missed. Can you get a quick plug for my online course on Sunday? Learn to make professional looking menu cards. Still places left. Yeah, so Paula's doing, for anybody who's got menu cards, I'm going to talk about costs tonight as well, because I did a little post earlier, but Paula's running a course on some of the admin side, but in terms of using Canva to produce your own, or to kind of home produce your own menu cards and how to do it. So go and see fusionchocolate.co.uk, go and see Paula, she's got a course that's running on Sunday. Rochelle there, Amazing Grazing, hello. So Emma's saying, well done Kelly, on your first TV appearance. It's little steps. I did message Kelly earlier today, and she credited me. It's not my work. I how do I say? Start with Kelly's probably a year and a half ago, probably more actually. And I've watched her grow, and she was quite fearful of doing some things, and actually what she's done, I said recently that fear is 5 miles wide and 1 inch deep, and actually very often we do this as human beings, and I think we do this as young entrepreneurs, small businesses, small producers. What we do is our imagination is so much worse than reality, right? And I think that one of the things, Albert touched on this, that what he's learned to do is not to say yes to everything, but also not to say no. And what that means is that you kind of know that you need to do it, just need to measure it a little bit more. I think Kelly's done that, and she was a little bit fearful, and she's like, oh, I don't know how it's going to work out. But actually, on the back end of doing TV appearances and bits and pieces, or public speaking, or whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's your first time doing a market, you need to go in there with open eyes, and it's fine to have a little bit of fear, and it's fine to be just a little bit apprehensive. But I think you have to face your fear and go forward, because actually, after these events, when you sit down and it's all past and you've calmed and the anxiety's gone, you then start to reflect on, what would I do different? If I did it again tomorrow, what would I change? What do I do differently? Not focus on what didn't go well, we'll focus on the things that did go well and kind of build on those elements. But really well done. TV's not easy. TV is not easy. It's a lot of waiting around, and then they go, and you got to start. So we've got more people in New Zealand. Hello. You didn't deploy the 3-second rule either. No, Stuart, you didn't do the 3-second rule, and I bet Stuart didn't sentence enhance either. So here's a question. At what point do people invest in a Selmy? We have an opportunity for some contract manufacturing, which will be several thousand bonbons a month. That is the point that you would invest in a Selmy, where you need to do the volume. If you start buying some of the bigger machines early on, you need the money to pay for that, or you need the income coming in to keep that machine running so that it's turn on, ready to use. You're still going to have to paint molds, still going to have to make fillings. What it does do is just have chocolate on demand. However, you need that demand before you start switching the machine like that on. They go on standby, so they're going to use a fair bit of power, and they need filling. You can't have a little kind of inch of chocolate in the bottom. It doesn't really work that way. At the point that you know you've got contracts and they're quite solid, that's the point that you'd invest in bigger equipment to do more volume, right? I think if I had much more going on in terms of contracted chocolate, I think we won't be far away from a Selmy, so that I can just switch it on when I get those orders and carry on doing the other bits and pieces. So, gosh, Kelly's acing it. Chocolate creams, hello. Oh, Kelly, was it 2 years in July? Wow, goes quick, doesn't it? Hi James, for your lychee rose ganache, what will be the approximate shelf life, and can I use in your passion fruit and white chocolate ganache puree instead of the juice? Yeah, a couple of questions there. I think the lychee ganache, I think it's 3 weeks, that one, because there's quite a walk content to it. I think it's 3 weeks, 21 days. But you can freeze those, so absolutely fine. The lychee and rose ganache is really, really nice. That's on my page. And can I use your passion fruit and white chocolate ganache puree instead of juice? With juice and puree, okay. So water fruits, I call a juice, right, not puree. Fruits that have got pulp or fibre in it. So mango is an example. Like you'd never say apple puree because that would involve the fruit. But whereas if you juiced it, you would get the water. So juice and puree intermixing depending on the fruit. Passion fruit, you'd never say passion fruit pulp because it's not just water that comes out. But essentially the liquid that you get from the fruit is a juice or a puree. So yes, you can mix that, not a problem at all. It's all in the wording. Dolce Mara, James, how do you start training staff in the chocolate business? Like you would any other staff. Make sure that you do induction, make sure you set the rules, make sure you are crystal clear on what their roles and responsibilities are, and support them on that journey. I think that, you know, I've employed thousands over the years. I mean, I couldn't put a figure on how many people I've employed in kitchens over the years, thousands, right? And we always had the same process, induction day. Like I wouldn't even let them go near the stoves to stir anything. Like they didn't, you know, for the first week, they didn't get to do anything other than to join in with the rest of the team. First task, get on with the rest of the team. That's the first job of any employee. Get on with the rest of the team that's there. Because if you don't, or if they don't, if you don't give them the opportunity to learn about the other team members, it'll be the other team members that get rid of them, not you, if that makes sense. So team is everything. Induction is hugely important, and it's not where is this, where is that. Induction are some of the kind of house rules and things that you do that might be different. Particularly you've got people that are coming from college who are very quick to say, when I was at college we did this. Well, we're not at college now, we're making money, so time is money and we're on the clock, so I need you to do it this way because this is what we do. It's making sure you clarify all that. I don't think employing people is difficult. I think here's the thing, I always did this for me. What is it, because I've changed jobs, right? So at senior level, you would change jobs and the general manager and everybody would give you all their time. Actually, when you got new employees at the bottom, it didn't matter whether they were washing up or just prep chefs, you still need to give them their time and you need to be available to them. And I think that's a really fundamental point. If you say, if I was starting in this job today, what would I want? That's what you want that person to start like. You have to ask, what is it that I want and can I do that for them? People don't change jobs, they change managers. It's true, right? So I hope that answered that, Dolce Mara. But training them, little steps, do you know? Training them is showing them your expectation. And I truly believe in a thing called EDIP, right? EDIP. Explain. So explain what they're going to do. Demonstrate what they're going to do. Imitate, get them to do one, okay? Then let them do one to practice. And that should be the premise of everything that you do. EDIP, explain, demonstrate, imitate, practice. I'll explain what I need you to do. I will demonstrate it to you so it's crystal clear. I'll get you to do one so that you do it the way that I've just shown you, and I'll get you to practice. The other thing I'd say with staff training, I've always asked them, you know, if you were getting somebody like, have you airbrushed before? And they say no, fine. If you then show them how to airbrush and they start doing it a different way and then they go, oh yeah, but at this other place, like, no, that's not what I asked you. I asked you if you've done it before. If you have done it before, show me what you do and I'll adjust that. Right? So I don't think employing people is particularly difficult. I think what you need to do is be crystal clear about what it is you expect from them. Like anything really. If you don't explain it, you know, it's like tempering chocolate, it's like tempering cocoa butter. We're instructing it to crystallize. If we don't temper it properly, it's not going to do as we expect. Therefore, the end result will be very different to our expectation. Disastrous, right? Most of the time. So, how do you make shell for larger mould? For example, an egg mould for Easter. The shell must be thicker than normal mould. Yeah, Chrissy, I would go like for big Easter egg moulds. I think I answered this last week. Here's a couple of tricks. With these small ones, Easter egg shells, 2-drop chocolate's probably better. We do want a thicker shell because we just don't want, if you've got a thin shell, it's likely it's going to break or it's going to be brittle, and when it retracts, if you're not careful with it, it'll crack and then you've got to start again, right? With these, everything flushes out with vibration, right? So we tap it and everything rushes out, but it comes out nice and smoothly because it's not a big surface area. With the eggs, okay, I would fill it, leave it in there a little bit longer than you'd need to, okay? Because the longer it's in there, the thicker that shell is going to help. Don't tip it all the way over, just tip it on it. With eggs, right, so with bigger molds, just tip them on their side so it all runs down, okay? And then you can scrape it, and then scrape it at an angle. And what it'll do, because actually if you fill that and you turn it upside down, you're going to have all these bits sticking out the middle. And when you go to fill it, it's all lumpy and bumpy in the middle. It's horrible. And you'll have really thick layers and really thin layers. So the trick is just to tip it out on its side. There was a guy in Switzerland that taught me that. Probably around about 1993. This was a little while ago. Well, I kept tipping everything out like that, and he just absolutely explode at me and start screaming. And he's like, no, we want the egg smooth. We want the inside smooth. So we just tip it out, right, and let it come out gently, and it will run out like a nice stream. Take care of it, and then you can tip it at an angle and you can straighten those off. And then we leave them flat. We leave them flat just so that we can get a nice flat edge and scrape it, so we got a flat layer that will fit to a flat layer. Right, does that answer it? 2-drop chocolate. Leave it in the mold a little bit longer, okay? Nothing bad's going to happen. The other thing is, this is something to be wary of, because we've got a bigger surface area. We spray thicker amounts, and the thicker the cocoa butter, the warmer the chocolate. The warmer the chocolate, the more we'll melt that layer, and we won't end up with that situation where we've got big chunks of chocolate left in. Thicker chocolate retracts better, okay? Much better. But because it's thicker chocolate, you need to get some air circulating around it, right? But, oh, he's just jumped again. I don't know why it does that, but I can only get so far, and then all the comments and questions jump down. I've got to scroll all the way back. Give me a second. Right, where are we? Next question. Yeah, Chris, did that answer that one? Is there any difference between granite and marble, or even man-made composite counters for hand tempering chocolate? For tabling, yeah, you'd need granite because it's a colder surface. It's not necessary. I wouldn't be tempering now. I would get silk and melt your chocolate to 34, add the silk and go with that. If you are tabling, the problem with like the man-made laminates and things is they don't cool down quick enough, which is why marble is preferred, because it absorbs temperature better. If not, then granite like I've got, but they're not wholeheartedly necessary. I mean, I can table, I just prefer not to. The problem you have with tabling is you get a lot of air, but you get a huge amount of air bubbles. If you think seeding method creates a lot of bubbles, you have a go at doing tabling. The amount of bubbles that you get in the chocolate is shocking. So you spend all your time just tapping it all out, and it's cooling down. It's just messy. So, hi James, when do you start trademarking your brand? That is a really interesting question. We've trademarked 3, 6. I think we've trademarked 8 products. All right, so this is not .com stuff or .co.uk. That's website thing. The actual registered trademark. So IPO, the International Patents Office. So we got trademarks against all our products. The reason we did that is we started to send more and more stuff overseas, and also I kind of knew that I had a product that, I suppose the trademark is that I want to go all the way, right? The trademark, when I see a trademark, for me, you're not messing around. This is not part-time hobby anymore. This is big boy stuff. We are doing the right thing. We are getting the right accreditations, whether that's ISO or SALSA or any of those bits and pieces. We'll do the trademarks against the product so it's protected from all the effort that I've put into it. In terms of when should you do it, it's not expensive. to trade name or trademark your products. It's not as expensive as you imagine. And actually, if you go to the IPO office, if you're UK based, each country will have its IPO, so it's the International Patents Office. Every country has their own version of it. Most of it's done online. You can apply and register, and it's normally you get to do the actual name or the actual brand name and logo, and then you can also pay for derivatives of it. So, for example, we've got iShould Cocoa. We've got iShould Cocoa, which is SHUD, and then we've got iShould Cocoa SHOULD, and then we've got Cocoa COCO and Cocoa KOKO. Just because the brand's important to me and I don't really want somebody copying it, what the International Patents Office will do is if somebody does copy what we're doing, and you're serious about your own business, trademarking it is just another level of protection. You don't need to go and do that argument if somebody's copying you. Actually, I'll let the IPO office do that. That's what I've paid for. They will send the lawyers, they will send the writs, they will send the letters, they will send the cease and desist orders to wherever that is. And there's a difference between having a UK one, a Europe one, or a worldwide one, and the prices go up. But it's not a complicated process to do. You're trademarking a name or a brand rather than an invention, and the patent office also does the inventions, and that's a very, very complicated. That's a very complicated process. And then on top of that, you've got intellectual property. So where we have ABCD on the butters, I've lodged that as intellectual property. So I came up with the idea that you could do the cocoa butters ABCD. So that if somebody wants to copy that, they need to kind of copy me in and say, yeah, I acknowledge that that's James at So Sassy's intellectual property, so I won't use that. But also they can't do type 1, 2, 3, 4 because we covered that one as well. So I think the decision is how firmly do you believe your brand, and how invested you are into your brand. Because if you've done logos and you've done all your bits and pieces and you've been trading for a little bit, I think you should trademark that name, right? I do. And it's not expensive. I think it's less than £100 per go, right? And I think it lasts for 10 years. I think it lasts 10 years, so worth doing. Worth doing. James, right, somebody's answering something there. Michael, good morning. We received that colour cocoa butters the other day. Thank you for purchasing. Yeah, well, there's an interesting one there. You can, with the eggs, right? So there's a question there. I did, but I think the layer is a little bit thin. You can double shell, right? You can double shell. However, if you've got a 3-drop, say you've got a 4-drop chocolate and or you got 2 chocolates, so you want to, like Kinder Egg, you want to shell in a milk chocolate and then shell in a white. You want to shell that first one. As soon as it goes dry, as soon as it's dry, not retracting, as soon as it's gone dull, get the next chocolate in there, and then you can tap that one out and scrape, right? That will give you a thicker layer. If you wait too long and that started to crystallize, when you put that layer in and you turn it upside down, you might have an egg drop out, right? Which there's no way, there's no recovery to that. That's not sentence enhancing, that's full on swearing, and you have to start again, right? So my friend Neil there, Hampshire Dorset HR. What else have we got? Is any in there? Temper. How do you handle coconut ganache? Does it have a short shelf life because of the lauric acid? Not lauric acid, lauric fats. Coconut milk, right? So coconut milk, coconut puree are different things, okay? Coconut milk's got an enzyme in it, and I answered this the other week. If you make ganache with coconut milk, you'll find that like by day 5, day 6, day 7, it's got this real soapy taste to it, and it's a little bit slimy. And then if you look at it at day 10, it's got green dots and spots all over it, particularly if you do it like white chocolate, which is an obvious one. We'll do coconut milk, but there's an enzyme in there that breaks down. If you're using coconut oil, which is a different thing altogether, so coconut fat, we call it coconut fat, but it's the stuff that you get, the really nice organic ones, and we use it. We're doing rice dishes and some kind of Asian cooking. That I will put that into a ganache, but the problem is it's an oil. So at room temperature it's not solid. So at room temperature it's liquid. And the challenge with that is that fat migration. We're going to end up with oil poking through the shells, particularly if you're using dark chocolate, which is quite open-celled, whereas milk chocolate and white chocolate, you don't get quite as much fat migration through the shell, but dark chocolate you do. I'm not a fan of using coconut milk, and I know so many people that have used it and then said it's been an absolute disaster. Just because I've come across it in business, there's so many people that said to me, like, why would I did the right sugars, I did sorbitol, I did all these bits and pieces, but the coconut ganache has gone green. And my first question is, do you use coconut milk? They say yes. I'm like, it was the coconut milk. There's an enzyme in there that breaks down. It's not lauric acid, it's the lauric fats. Yes, there will be some fat migration, but coconut milk, coconut puree is good. Coconut puree is the milk that comes from it. Good flavour, but not as good as the coconut milk. Coconut milk is good for cooking and sauces. I don't think is great for ganache work, unless you want to really, really bind that up with lots of glucose, lots of invert sugar, maybe a shot of sorbitol, or any other polyol sugar, in which case you're going to lose all the flavour. So it's a tough one, coconut milk. Yeah, it does. The shelf life significantly shortened because of the enzyme that's in there. So, Pastry ML finally joined. You're welcome. What do we got? We bought our Salmi 24 kilo just before Christmas after a year of producing consistently big numbers of product. It's been a game changer if you shell in one type of chocolate. Absolutely. I think the decision is, it's not like everybody. I think every small producer would like to have a Salmi or an automated machine, right? You just need the volume to do it, because they're not. I know people that have got like an inch in the bottom of it and they just don't work efficiently at all. They need filling up. They really, really need filling up, putting on standby in the next morning. And if you're going to get a Salmi, get a depositor head that goes with it so that you can cap shell. The depositor head is just the same size as the mold that you use, so that you can fill it, and it's a lot neater and a lot faster. But the depositor head, not so important when you're shelling, but when you're capping, yeah, it's a big game changer. But again, you don't want to buy, 15, 16, 17,000 until you're sustained orders. And this is business, right? You've got to grow your numbers up, okay? You will know when it's time to buy a continuous tempering machine, because you're like, I can't be bothered to stir any more chocolate. So I think your arms and shoulders will tell you when it's time. But that's probably because you're doing big numbers and you've got the potential to do much, much more numbers, right? So, bites at a time, right? There's quite a few small producers that have them, I know of, who don't use them, believe it or not, because they just can't. They're like, it's pointless turning it on. It takes hours for it to melt. It's just not as quick. Whereas when you're doing big volume and you come in the morning and you've got 300 molds and they're all sprayed, wallop you straight in. I think the other thing about continuous tempering machine, if you have got an employee, you can teach them how to do that very, very quickly, very efficiently, right? And they can take away that mechanical side. Remember I said we got the design phase, spraying, painting, decorating, the mechanical side, which is the shelling, the scientific stage, which is like doing the fillings, formulating all that and piping. Some of the more menial tasks, for new starters, you don't want them painting, decorating, because too risky. Plus, that's the fun bit that you want to do, right? I'd never give that bit away. I'd just put myself in a corner. I'd just be spray painting, keeping an eye on what's going on. But they're the good jobs that you could give: capping, shelling, even piping some of the fillings if you make them. That will give you more time if you've got employees. But I think continuous tempering machines are great when you've got employees that don't know what tempering is. it's too long-winded to teach them what tempering is, to have a machine that you can just turn on, press and play, knowing that the chocolate that comes out is going to be great, right? So, been using a new chocolate from the Caribbean and it's extra thick when making ganache. Any way to reformulate the ganache recipe so it could be more fluid to pipe? Chef Zeph, yeah, cocoa butter is your friend there. Cocoa butter will add fluidity to it, but it would harden it when when it crystallizes. So you can up the liquid, but you'd need to up the cocoa butter content as well too. And yeah, it's the formula, but cocoa butter is your friend there. Don't just keep adding liquid to it, because you'd end up with, when I say liquid, cream. Because you need to take account for that extra cream or the water, 60% something water that's left over in there. So that answers it. If it's too thick, cocoa butter would be your friend for piping, only it will set firmer, right? But again, that's not a major problem. So Sweet Drivers there, hello. Cocoa Boutique, gosh, lots of people I haven't seen for a long time. Purple Pralines, how are you? Dark Chocolate, my girlfriend works in a patents law firm. She agrees with all that you said. I've been through it. I thought that trademarking and stuff through the IPO, I thought it was going to be a really long-winded process, and it's not at all. I sat down and I was kind of done within 20 minutes, sent it off for review. A gentleman phoned me back and said it's all fine, we've done a quick search, there's no names come back, we'll write to you in 6 weeks and it will go in the register, and then they issue the certificate. It was a really straightforward. I think if you mean business and you're serious, I think and you have the finance to do it, right? But I think that, if you've put lots of effort in and you're selling big numbers and your brand is growing, you should have some reserve capital to be able to put into protecting your brand, right? I think it's a diligent thing. I really, really do. So, this is a nightmare tonight with buffering. I hope not. Regarding costing, do you add shipping costs to the cost of the chocolate? No, you don't. Shipping comes on afterwards. We're getting into some account stuff here, so I might have to get Mrs. So Sassy to explain this. All right, she's the accountant. Your costs are your costs, and then you would put your. This is why post and packaging is always separate, right? I can't. The post and packaging doesn't belong to me. The people that pay for postage, I get that money, but I pay that money straight out. I don't make money on post and packaging, which is why we formulate it for what we formulate. If in the UK, it's free free postage under £60, but we absorb that cost. Overseas, it's different. You can't put it into the cost of the chocolate, because that wouldn't be fair on the people that collect it, and that wouldn't be fair on the markets and the bits and pieces that you go to. You do your costs times 3, times 4, whatever you want to do. That's the price of the chocolate, and then on top of that, it would include, or it'd be plus post and packaging, which is why we do it. The other thing is, you can claim, if you're VAT registered, you can claim VAT back on some of the bits. So if you bought equipment, it's not so much ingredient led, but if you bought equipment, bowls, tempering machines, kind of whatever, anything that you've bought, you can claim VAT back on. You can't claim VAT back on any postage, which I think is grossly unfair, but you know what, I don't write the rules. Mrs. So Sassy did answer it. Shipping costs are an addition to the final product. So if we've got a box of chocolates, that costs £16 plus VAT's £21.50. It'd be £21.50 plus post and packaging. I don't get to see the post and packaging. That obviously I pay that bill and they invoice me at the end of the month. You don't want to know what happened. Couriers. It goes on at the end, all right. You can't put it on. I've been making truffles, but the filling has started going grainy. What can I be doing wrong, Harriet? What, I don't know. What is the filling? Is it ganache? Is it what is it? When you say it's going grainy, what is the filling? How can we join the Facebook group? It's a private Facebook group. It's called Chocky Chat. Go there, answer the questions. If you don't answer the questions, you ain't coming in, because I don't want selling in any way, shape or form. So some humdingers on the other forum this week. Ooh, glad I'm not in that. I'm glad I'm not in that forum anymore. Yeah, go to the face. It's Chalky Chat. Chalky Chat. It's Facebook. It's private. You need to answer the questions, and then myself and another couple of admins will, if you've answered the questions, we'll let you in, and then you can read all things. So I think it's about 800. I think it's about 800 in the group now. Very good. Talking about the shipping I pay for when I order my chocolates. Right. Yes. Because yes, you do. So if you buy one bag of chocolate and the postage was $25 and the bag of chocolate was $25, it costs you $50 to get that chocolate. You can't claim any of that back, so that bag is worth that. So yes, that would be invoice total. If you've bought multiple things, and one set of packaging, what I would do is look at how many items you've got and then just divide that shipping roughly between all of them to give you kind of an average price. But yes, you do. If it's cost you to buy it in and you've had to have it shipped in, even if you've paid import duty and all that kind of thing, that goes on there. Of course it does. I do with we have import stuff that we have to pay for, things like the natural blue, which I did this week. We use a really specific grade of spirulina, blue spirulina. That comes all the way from Japan, and that's ground down. So that's ground down to a specific size for me. So we have to get that from Japan. I can't get that from somewhere else. But we pay the import, and that's the price of that product total, right? So yeah, you do. Sweet Driver, I love my Selmy. Have you given it a name though? Later here because I'm on video call with Savvy because I'm trying to fix my machine. Thank goodness I speak French. There's no engineer in this part of Canada anymore. Gosh. Got to be mechanically minded. Thank goodness for Easy Temper. Yeah, Easy Temper. Do I still have the one-to-one sessions? Just hold off another week and I'll have caught up. I'm getting bombarded with emails about classes at the minute. I had so many classes booked in the January sale that is literally taking me all of January and a little bit of February just to schedule those. If I was greedy, I'd just keep letting it stack up. That's not my style. I want to finish all of them, get all of them done, get everybody away on their journey with their classes and the support that comes with that and answering all their questions. And then I will open up the dates. We've got the Cocoa Butter class on the 18th. I've still got lots and lots of hands-on classes booked. The challenge I have with the hands-on classes, it's not a challenge, it's a difficulty. When I have a hands-on class, I'm not doing anything else. So I'm not making butters, I'm not doing any other classes. So when I'm doing a one-to-one day class, everything stops. So when you're doing 3 or 4 of those a week, everything comes to a standstill and then I've got to race to catch up. So I think anybody that's successful and busy, that's their problem. There just isn't enough time in the day. The one-to-one classes will be back on shortly, but just give me a moment to get kind of set up and sorted out. So there's some good answers on here. When on courses, I've always been advised to use 35% fat cream, but it's so expensive now. Can I recommend a cream? Harry, have a look at the Elmley. Have a look at the Elmley as an alternative. You do need a 35% fat at minimum. You can't use single cream. It doesn't heat. It doesn't cook. The water content is so much higher. It causes you no end of problems. And I think the problem with single cream is there's too much casein in there, which is a protein, and that will spoil very, very, very quickly because that will produce butyric acid when it breaks down, which is the smell of vomit, which is not particularly nice. So please don't use single cream. We want double cream, the higher fat content, less water content. Things are bound up a little bit more, and when you cook it, it emulsifies as well. That's the other thing about double cream or heavy cream, whatever you want to call it. Elmley is a good alternative. Synthetic, that's a good alternative. The truffle filling is chocolate, cream, butter, glue. Okay, probably, Harry, if that's going grainy, it's not enough cream. It's not enough liquids in it. It's not enough cream in there. So it's when things go grainy, it's set, but it's separated, which is why it's a little bit grainy, right? Things separate. We call it splitting. Things separate because of lack of water. Did I do a post? I did a post about this, or I tried to explain this. If I melt some chocolate, if I do, 200 grams of chocolate and 200 grams of cream and put them in, if I keep stirring, eventually I will get those fat globules will become too big and there won't be enough water to balance it. So what will happen is it separates, it splits, and it looks like it's got water in it, but basically what's happened is all the fats have bound together in bigger chunks and the water's surrounding it. If you add more water to it, it breaks this little fat globule down in half. So they end up microscopic and the water balances it out. Schools teach this the other way. I know, I was looking at I did a thing with a school and she said, it's too much fat and it will split. Like, no, that's not right. It's truly not right. And all these kids scratching their head while the teacher and I were having and she's like, well, I've been to catering college. I've been a chef 35 years and I can tell you, when you haven't got enough water, that's when things separate, right? That's always a reason. So, Harriet, with that one, I just do 20% more cream in there, and I think you'll find that will balance out and emulsify again, all right? So, stick blender or blender, just you need to mechanically blend it to knock those fat molecules smaller so they're more suspended in that water solution. And then the sugars that are in there, the glucose, that will surround both of those. Well, they're not, they're in bunches of 8. That will surround all of those and it will stop the water movement, which is available water. So the water that is available to move, right? It will just bind everything up. That's what shelf life is. There can be water in it. The more water that's in there, the lower the shelf life. But what we can do is bind up the water using the fats and sugars, the fats and water that's already in there, and then use the sugars to surround it to cause it to gellify so that there's no movement of those. That's an exploded view, right? So trying to make this not too technical, right? More water. It'll be softer, it'll be easier to pipe. You just might need to chill it down, right? So the other thing with truffles is, here's the thing. The fillings of truffles need to be a little bit firmer than the shell, all right? Because what happens is when you eat them, and this has been my bug bite from judging in competitions and bits and pieces, if the fillings of truffles are too thin, what happens is when you bite them, the filling disappears quickly because it melts on your tongue and you swallow it and you're left with the outside shell, which is not always, it's just a vehicle to carry it, right? You actually want it the other way. I want all the outside to melt and then I want to be left with the filling because that should be the most flavourful bit, right? I don't want the nice filling, if it's really liquid to eat, to disappear really quick and then I'm left with the cheaper chocolate. Does that make sense? So it's called eatability. Pastry ML, my Selmy's called Bob and the second one's called Brian. Best employees ever. Most people, do you know, and I'm going to go gender specific now, but most of the Selmys that I've come across are called like Gertrude or Harriet, but I've never come across one called Bob and Brian. Absolutely brilliant. Coco Lily's joined us there in Florida. Coco Lily, I think you asked me a question about weddings, which I answered last week or the week before. My Selmy Lorenzo, there we go, saved my career, allows me to continue with neuropathy in my hands and arms. I love it. Happy days. Maggie's busy this evening finishing creating goodies for my daughter's hen party tomorrow. Whoa. Obviously using I Should Cocoa colours. If you're considering the classes, defo go for it. Well worth the investment. The cocoa butter class is on the 18th. If you're stuck with how to use cocoa butter and how to temper cocoa butter, this class is for you. If you have lots of problems with it not sticking, it not being shiny, we will touch on some chocolate tempering. If we know what tempering means, and this is what this class is about, if you know what tempering means, what I teach you to do with cocoa butter, right? What I teach you to do with cocoa butter will directly relate to what you do with chocolate, because the temperatures are exactly the same. The only difference is how low we take the temperature of this one, and I'll explain that in the class. But I think it's on Sunday the 18th. There's a link on my page and the stories. I'll do another post later tonight. It's worth doing. It's a. I'm not going to say it's not a cheap course. It's a good value course. There's a lot of information on there on how to use cocoa butters, how to temper, what you're looking for, the temperatures to shell at, what happens during the retraction and shelling process on the chocolate, and why that's important. And like I said, if you've got very, very dull chocolates and you paint and nothing really happens, this might be the class for you. It's an hour and a quarter. It's a lot of knowledge. And there's quite a few people here that have done the cocoa butter class, and I think they would all say it's worth doing, right? You get a nice Sunday night with me as well. Sarah will probably make an appearance. Have a lovely day tomorrow, Maggie. Okay, here we go. I wonder when this question. Anyone hear about El Nino driving up cocoa butter price? Right. I've seen a couple of posts about this week. Okay, I'm not going to jump on my high horse and start ranting now. Cocoa is a commodity, all right, on the stock market. It's actually a soft commodity. It's what's known as a soft commodity. So it will always, as a soft commodities are they're sugar, cocoa. They're products that are grown. So maize, barley, wheat. They are products that are grown. So they're known as a soft commodity. Because they're a soft commodity, they're affected or afflicted by weather and growing conditions. West coast of Africa, not been a great season. The majority of the world's cocoa is Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. They've had a bad season. However, globally there are some other regions, Peru, Colombia, Mexico. They are also almost equally as big producers. The story initially came from the BBC. I don't know about you, but I don't believe a bloody word that they say. I never ever believe it. You've got to go and check multiple sources. Yes, there will be a rise in cocoa butter prices. There's also likely to be a dip at the same time. I work with a very clever young lady, and she looks at all this stuff, which, you know, we buy cocoa butter in staggeringly huge amounts, right? So it affects us directly, and we hedged it, or she hedged us in and bought before. We knew it was going to go up. We also know it's likely to dip down again, because where there is a lower demand or a lower production from one area, it's likely that the other areas will scale up. The cocoa that you're using this year was probably grown 2 years ago, so there is a storage and release, so the bonding will release it into the stock market. Does that make sense? It's a soft commodity, so it's always going to be affected by it. I do think journalism loves to sensationalize. You know, I noticed that it was always, I read the article and it was all about El Nino. It wasn't about cocoa. It's just, that's the single thing. Vegetables are going to be affected. Cucumbers, carrots are going to be affected. Wheat, maize is going to be affected. Sugarcane is going to be affected. Sugar beet is going to be affected. Everything in that region that's growing, that's a soft commodity, is going to be affected. I saw another post and it said, go and stock up. I don't think that's the right thing to do. We live now where there are constant rises, okay, and it's never going to change. It happens in fuel, it happens in energy, it happens in every market segment has these rises. Cocoa goes up, so will sugar, so will wheat, and it's for those big producers to keep those prices down. I think some will take advantage of it and say, well, we'll put 10% on. Stock market prediction is there's going to be about 3.1% rise. Last year you had a 1.9% rise, so it's unlikely that you'd notice it. Some of the bigger manufacturers, one of the posts that I saw where somebody said go and stock up, had a meeting directly on their next day with the people from Calibert, and I was like, well, this is a little bit of a coincidence, isn't it? I'm not going to say conspiracy theory, but like, you know, one day they're saying you should really, really stock up, and then they have a meeting with Calibert. So I don't know. There's always price increases. It's a soft commodity. It will go up as well as come down. Hard commodities tend to just continue going up. So they are the mined products, right? When you look at stock market trading, the mined products, gold, silver, those always go up. Crude oil, all those items, they always go up, and aggregates. But soft commodities, they've always had this ebb and flow, right? They've always had these dips. So I don't think people need to go out and panic buy. Truly, I don't think you need to panic buy. Having said that, and I think this is an important point, and this is something I posted a little bit earlier today, all right? Every chocolatier needs to understand this, that the role of the business is to generate income. Your role within the business is to make it profitable. Multiple layers, trendy, you know, you look at the price of yuzu. What's yuzu? £74 for a kilo, right, tub? I saw a recipe and it's like, take 500 grams of yuzu puree, it's £74, take 500 grams and reduce it by half, 250. So, and it was a recipe to fill 2 moulds. So I got 2 moulds and I'm going to put £38 worth of yuzu puree in it. So they're going to be like 50, 60 pence each, just one ingredient. So those bonbons, by the time I sell them, are going to, individually, are going to need to be £5. Unless you've got billionaire clients jumping on these trending things, and I know chefs promote them, and it's like yuzu and calamansi and all these things. The difficulty is where they paid to promote that, but they got it free, so they can put it in lots of their products. For the smaller producers, you need to kind of take it easy. I did the post about the salt caramels, right? Somebody did message me and said, I don't see how you can make a bonbon for 16p. I'm like, well, read the notes, because it's on Chocky Chat page. Read the notes. For a salt caramel, 1 bonbon, 16 pence. If I got 12 in there, you know, you can make money in this, but you need to be very, very careful. If all your fillings are triple and double fillings with, you know, when you go shopping, if all I've got to do is make salt caramel, I need to go to the shop and get cream, sugar, molten salt, maybe a little bit of chocolate, which I have in stock anyway. Not a huge shopping list. But all the time you've got all these multiple layers because you think it's clever and tricksy. Actually, you're just hurting the inventory on your shelf. Because you buy a big jar of something, but if you don't use it, it's kind of wasted, right? There is nothing wrong with just doing an amazing chocolate ganache. There is nothing wrong with just doing a caramel. There is nothing wrong with keeping it absolutely simple. I think the days of doing 3 layers and all the rest of it, yes, it's very, very tricksy. But here's the thing, we're fully immersed in what we're doing. So we're looking at Instagram, we're looking at all these designs, we're looking at all these things that people do. They're for show. Very often, because we're immersed in it, there's a gap between what we know and what we like and what the customer knows. And I've said this, and I said this to all the chefs that where I supported many hotels as an group exec. The customers aren't as adventurous as you think. Right, you know, in hotels, soup and a sandwich you sell more of those and burgers than you will anything else, because it's just standard fare, right? For us as chocolatiers, that's salt caramel, that's a Yanduja, that's you don't need to do all these multiple fillings, and I think you need to ask yourself, am I doing all these different fillings for my ego, or because that's what everybody else is doing? I think you should stick with your guns. I dare you to look at some of the bigger producers and have a look at what they're making, and it's not all multiple layers at all. Some of them are really straight standard fare. Nothing wrong with salt caramel. In fact, you can make litres and litres, kilos and kilos of it up, and it's just your go-to standby. So, right.
I just want to add something.
You want to add something? Mrs. So Sassy's going to talk. Are you going to show your face? Come say hello to Chocky Chat crew.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say that between chocolatiers, there's an element of, let's say, competition.
Competition.
It's the same between chocolate makers like Calibut, like.
Yeah, do you know, it's an interesting point.
Bear that in mind.
Competition, yeah, let me explain this. Competition between chocolatiers is one thing. So my fillings are better, yours, my fillings are better. Between chocolate producers, Calibut, Valrhona, Luca, they're competing as well. And they will always try and set the price a little bit more, right?
Like we have competition and we try to make our prices better than anybody else to try to sell more, they do the same. We have Manjari. We have other products.
We got no. We have the Manjari because the girls like that. That's
Yeah.
showing off, isn't it?
We
Sarah
don't
only
produce
eats Valrhona.
only for specific customers. There's
Yep.
customers that they ask for the best of the best and they
Yep.
pay for
They
that.
want Valrhona. That's it.
If you have a customer such like that and they want to do an order that's
Spit, yeah.
bespoke production.
We're
then
talking about
use
private
that.
jet, like billionaire private jet. Only have this chocolate. That's it. We will buy it. We will make it. That's done.
The main point that I wanted to say that the prices goes up everywhere of
All the time.
all products. However, it
Love
will
camera.
not double. If it does double, that means nobody will have
Yeah.
chocolate
Price isn't going to
because chocolate is not meat. It's not vegetables. It's not an everyday meal for people to
it's
put
a
on the
luxury, yeah.
table. Chocolate, it is a luxury.
It's a luxury commodity.
Therefore, the risk of putting the prices doubled means that they will not sell.
It's going to go up a tiny bit, and I think by April, I
They
think
will
it'll
drop.
go down a bit.
I did talk to a huge,
told you.
a huge person that he actually buy from those countries and bring it to that country.
You
And
watch the stock market. So I
Exactly.
just said this on
So-
here.
So
You watch the stock
prices goes
markets.
up
Yeah.
and down.
Soft commodity. soft
Whoever
commodity.
comes and say that's just buy a lot. That's your profit.
Yes.
You just donated your profit
Yeah.
and give it to somebody else. You don't need to do that. You go slowly. You don't have the space
Yeah.
to actually store instead of making their storage empty and putting your stock, make it huge and your money to go to somebody else. No, don't do that. Don't do it.
Don't panic buy.
Buy what you need
Don't panic buy.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Don't panic buy
Don't
at
panic
all.
buy. Just don't panic buy. The price is going to go up, and I think it's going to come back down. I
We
think by
learned that
April,
through the pandemic.
yeah, we all learned that through the pandemic. All of us.
Toilet papers and all that.
Yeah,
things.
everybody go out and buy pasta and empty
some
the
of the
shops.
comments here was talking about that, like the toilet papers, like other things. That's the prices went up and you couldn't find it. Exactly like that. So don't panic buy.
Okay. To answer that one, here's a question, James. Why sometimes during casting chocolate, I melt the cocoa butter layer in a mould. When I tap the mould, I check the temperature of the chocolate and mould, and they're okay. It's happened to me 2 times. I don't. Chocolate creams. Write that again. I don't understand. What do you mean? What's happened? Right, let me scroll further. Yeah, pastry ML. Don't panic buy. Do you know? I think that it's going to be right. You know, there is bad weather in the West Coast. There is going to be a poor harvest, but they're saying that maybe they're going to be something like 700,000 kilos short of their prediction for the year, which was something like bloody 1.25 million tons. So they're tiny fractions, all right. There are other countries that produce cocoa products, and there's already an issue in the West Coast not wanting to ship to the EU because of the rules that are being enforced by them, and that's an even bigger story. So I've got one news entity arguing with the other here. As Rania watches the stock market, she's a clever girl, and we buy cocoa butter in ridiculous amounts, and it affects us, right? When you're buying 3, 4, 5 tons of something, 20 pence, it adds up. It adds up massively quick. So we're looking at the market and gauging it, and we're talking to people in country. We're talking to people that are there, saying, well, actually, no, I think this is what's happened before, and this is how we affected it, and these were our contingency plans as a country to deal with it, and we have product loaded and stored ready to take out of bond to put onto the market. So yeah, don't panic buy. James, how often do you recommend sending samples in lab for AW check? You don't need, well, per recipe. I don't think you need to constantly do it. It's per recipe, unless your EHO asks for more. But no, it's per recipe that you want to do. But if you're doing small scale, if your EHOs ask for that, I'd question why they want that checked. But it'd be per recipe, but not something you would do yearly. It'd be way too expensive. So, way too expensive. We should start selling our yuzu fruit to fund our business. Our tree fruits all year, and we probably lose half the crop as it produces so much fruit. We juice and freeze what we can. Something in it. Yuzu. I think yuzu was at £104 for a kilo juice, and I think calamansi was at £74. Those were what I checked. It's £103 for yuzu. That's what I checked today. Because I looked at it, because I was quite, only because I was doing a class with somebody that's like, I made no money in December, and we looked at everything and the packages. We looked at everything. We looked at the cost of everything. It's like, you got a yuzu, you got a tropical fruit, and you got a calamansi, because it's a recipe that you bought, and that's fine. But you've got two of the most expensive fruit purees on the planet. And a bonbon that some of them were like 20 pence each, and then you've got one that's £1 each, and it just doesn't, it just doesn't make sense. When you've got, I said this last week, if you're a chef in a restaurant and you want to put lobster on, you need to have guests that can afford lobster. If not, you're going to throw them in the bin, and it's a double hit, because you can't sell them, so you've made nothing on them. So instead of losing the price of the lobster, you've lost the price of the additional sales, so the profit from it and the costs from it. So it's almost a 4 times hit every time you throw something in the bin. If it costs you £1, you sell it for 4, but if you waste £1, you've lost £4, right? So it's expensive. Some of this stuff is very expensive. Amen. Take it from the old lady group. This is very true about trends. Yeah. Most people don't look inside the chocolate. It's in their mouth, and they can't sense the layers. Totally. Never underestimate the power of simplicity. Much more difficult to produce a product where there is nowhere to hide. It requires you to just put the focus on perfecting the flavour. Totally. I worked 3 Michelin star restaurant in the 90s, and that chef, I won't name drop, he did teach Gordon Ramsay. Brutal, absolutely brutal kitchen. Absolutely. I come from the army. So walking into that, it's like, my God, what have I walked into? Is absolutely hardcore kitchen, right? When he said it was 3 things on a plate, he meant it, and there was nowhere to hide. There was absolutely, you could either cook fish perfectly and do one sauce to go with it and a small garnish. If you can do the simple techniques perfectly, pack your knives, find another job, because that's the end of your shift right now. And it was out, can't cook. And it was all about simplicity, absolute simplicity. Do something simple amazingly well. That is the keys to the kingdom, right? Do something simple amazingly well. I'm not a big fan of. I liked all the gels and things when they came out. Now it's just like gummy bears everywhere. I was laughing with Chris Harvey about this. It's gummy bears, and we both say let's do a hashtag. Get more chocolate in your chocolates, right? Put more chocolate in your chocolates. Your profit will thank you. So will your customers. All right. We're in the business of selling chocolate, not fruit gummy bears, right? So I think you can have 1 or 2, and a little cheesecake things. Yes, I think they're good, but put more chocolate in your chocolates. Trust me, it will work. It really, really will. So, time is it? God, it's gone way past, isn't it? Harriet, don't ever think you're being boring just by doing. Do you know? And I did this on a post earlier. Do you know the guts and confidence it takes to just do a dark chocolate shell with a dark chocolate ganache in it? Most chefs would be like, "Oh no, it's not pretty enough." The confidence to do that is a money maker, right? When I pour the chocolate in the cavities and then tap to pour out the chocolate, it comes out with the colour layer of cocoa butter. that I sprayed before. Chocolate temperature is 31. I would check the chocolate temperature. If you shell and your chocolate is above 33.3, you will melt that layer of cocoa butter and the chocolate will run out. So I would check the temperature of that chocolate. Truly, there's no reason it would melt that layer and the colour would drop out unless the chocolate's over temperature, right? So. Do I know what happened with the raspberries over the last couple of years? My cost of freeze-dried raspberries. Yeah, I'll tell you what that was. Freeze-drying is done with, so it's the cryo technology, and it's to do with the liquid nitrogen and the spike and rise in liquid nitrogen costs, because they have to freeze spray it. So it's frozen under a veil at minus 190, okay? The recover of stocks after the pandemic and everything closing down made limited stock, so the price of all those, even getting, you know the gas canister, the big gas canisters you get for barbecues, they're like impossible to get off. Still trying to recover to get all that gas built up. So yeah, that was the price of that. It affected all sorts. So yeah. Right, I've got to go. Gerard Bates, do you use a humidity meter in your kitchen? I have a few from China, but they all show different. I do have a humidity thing. I don't trust it hugely. The challenge, the humid. I know I've got a few. I've got two that are running, and I will basically off there. What I'm looking at is the windows. I'm looking at the surface area to do with humidity. If Rania is in the kitchen and puts a big pan of water, the humidity in here will just hit 86, and that kiss goodbye to doing any chocolate. Once the air gets too wet with moisture and humidity, I will wait for it to dry down. We'll open the doors and we'll just, same as, I can be shelling. If it's dry, it's one thing. If it starts chucking with rain outside, I'll just hold off a little bit. So humidity can be very difficult. Unless you've got really, really good air conditioning, humidity is a problem. But I don't know how accurate the little dial ones are. I think one of mine says my room is always 20 degrees. I came near the other day. I put a probe in a bottle of water that I've got on the back there. The probe said it was 15, but the dial said it was 20. So who knows? Mike, can I buy another humidity meter?
Nope.
No, I'm not allowed to buy another one. I'm going to buy one anyway. Right, I've got to go. That was the quickest hour and 40 minutes. Have a lovely week. We've got the class running on the Sunday the 18th. It's called the Cocoa Butter Class. You can find it on the website. What else have we got to say? Have a good week. Lovely to see all the Valentine stuff. Looking absolutely amazing. Easter next. Take it easy. Have a look at all your fillings. Ask yourself, do I need to make it so complicated? Can I just back up a little bit? The role of the business is to generate income. Your role is to make it profitable. The less complicated you make the fillings, the easier it is going to be for you in terms of shopping, stocking, menu cards, all the other stuff. You're in the business of selling chocolate. Get more chocolate in your chocolates.
One last question before we go, okay?
One last question.
What's the difference between using yellow pectin and NH pectin when making fruit jelly?
That is such a... I'm going to add chocolate creams. I'm going to answer that one next week, because that's a complicated question to answer. So we will do that next week. One's thermo-reversible and the other one isn't. The other one is to do with the methicillus and how quickly it reacts and the temperatures that they react at. But I think Michelle's there who will send you some pectin info. Chocolate. If you get hold of Chocolate Shell, she'll send you a sheet. All pectins do the same thing. Every single pectin does the same job. Different brands, different names, different products. NH pectin is a fast acting pectin. Yellow pectin is a slow setting and normally thermo-reversible, so we can melt it down again. NH pectin, very, very brittle. Good for pâte de frites, good for slab work. Not very good at making gels, not very good at making jellies. Whereas the NH, the yellow pectin is. Yellow pectin is very good for making jams because it's slow set. Very, very complicated area, pectin. Maybe Maybe we'll get Michelle on and we can have a little chat about that. Maybe we'll get Michelle on one night and we can have a little chat about pectins. Michelle, are you up for that? We can explain it to everybody and call it the pectin class. It seems complicated. Everybody seems to shout. Michelle, are you up for that? She's gone. She's not answering. There's a delay in her. Yeah, that might be one to talk about.
You can ask her tonight.
I'll talk to her later. She said, yeah, sure. We'll have a chat about pectins because it just seems to confuse the hell out of everybody. Michelle, I'll give you a shout on that one. Everybody have a lovely week. I will see you in a few hours for episode 127, right? Have a good one.